strongly feel that no knowledge is lost.
Yeah.
So anything you learn at any given point in time, you will be very surprised how it gets applied in whatever you're doing career-wise.
I think for me, Ekaya project, and I'll talk a little bit about that, has been most memorable. Reason being, I did set design for quite a bit, and then I was working with a lot of these luxury brands, and then came an opportunity of an event with Homegrown, and I worked with Palak Shah, who's the founder of Ekaya Banaras, and we married our strengths. So her strength is textiles and Banarasi, and my strength is like flowers and larger than life installations. So we actually created 7,000 fabric flowers out of the trimmings of the katran, which is wasted in the textile industry.
So I worked with Gauri Khan Design. So we were shooting Shah Rukh Khan's Delhi home. And for the Airbnb ad, we had to style their house. Now imagine working with Gauri Khan, who's such great caliber and she knows what she's doing. But I was co-styling the shoot with her. So I got to learn, like, play with flowers, table, plants, furnishings, furniture, everything, whatever is encompassed in space time.
So I love working with fresh flowers. I recently did work with Baccarat, which is a 260-year-old luxury brand, and we designed a whole workshop on the color red. So we took the humble rose and created an installation.
I feel India is an emerging luxury market, right? Like all the big brands, whether it's fashion, home decor, they want to come to India. They found a customer base which really wants to spend now, right? The only thing with that is the whitewashed approach of selling their products doesn't work anymore, right? So just whatever you want to do, practice, do it so well that people are compelled to call you and say, okay, Lalima, do it for us, or whoever you are, they want to collaborate with.
Wow, I mean, that's a very useful.
I think just be very authentically yourself. I think do not pretend to be anybody else. I think it really pays off.
So, good evening, Lalima. Really excited to have you on the Women Inspiring Network Win Voices podcast. As I was telling you earlier, our podcast is not just in India, but we are also doing global conversations at Davos, New York, Cannes.
Right.
And I'm really excited to have you because, as you mentioned, that you're a space stylist.
Yes.
Who's dwelled into set designing, and you're a stylist, and you've done installations. You were with Harvard Business Publishing.
Yes.
You were a psychologist. So many hats. So, in your own words, tell us a bit about your journey and how did you become a space stylist?
Sure. So first of all, I'm equally excited to be here. So the reason I use the term space stylist because it is able to cover everything that I do. So let's start with set design. So I have designed over 100 sets now for digital and TV ads. That's how I started out. I've also ventured into interior styling. So that also comes under space styling. And I've been trained as a floral artist at the McQueen's Flower School. So I do flower and tablescape styling as well. So all the styling bits, they really go up to space styling. And yes, I have a master's in psychology from Delhi University, and I'm absolutely a big nerd at heart. And I've worked with Harvard Business Publishing for good 6 years full time and 3 years part time. That was like a very academic bent of mine that I had at that time. And then I gradually moved on to set design first and then other things.
Yeah, but imagine a decade at Harvard Business Publishing,
Yeah.
and which was a totally different line,
Yes.
and into this. What
Yes.
made you move? Like what
Sure.
what ticked you?
So contrary to popular belief, like a lot of people think that one has switched from a corporate to a creative career. They think that they would have absolutely disliked or loathed corporate. That's not the case. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed my time at Harvard Business Publishing. In fact, a lot of skills that I've learned, like conducting workshops, and even managing teams, work ethics, everything I've learned, at Harvard. But that was satiating like the nerdy academic part of me. But I do have a part of me which is very creative, intuitive, loves to create things by my own hands. And then I thought, okay, let me just start, with something creative. And set design came very organically. Reason being that I was also into performing arts. So I went to National School of Drama when I was in school, and then even at the collegiate level, I think for all 5 years in Delhi University, I used to compete in different competitions, and there I actually tasted what set design is. But the resources were very limited at that time, right? Because in college you only have a certain budget. But it really taught me how to, use set design to take a story forward. So that is
So
something.
you involved in the production of it. What should the
Absolutely.
look be?
Absolutely, yes. So that is something which really intrigued me, and I was like, okay, I want to apply this skill set into something which can be commercially viable later. So many years down the line, while I was working at Harvard Business Publishing, I decided, okay, you know what, I want to do set design. And I started with a very small brand, which has now become like an Instagram channel all about Eve. And yeah, I did set designing for them, and I had a blast. So 3 years part-time I was working at HVP, and part-time I was doing set design. I was testing waters just to see the commercial viability of it, and then we parted ways, and now I only do creative stuff.
But I love what you said. It's sort of, it's sort of resonating with me. I was like, okay, my other business is storytelling, communication.
Yeah.
And then when you were just talking about our space, like the Win space, you were saying, I love the colors and all. So I'm just thinking, each of us do have that creative bend, and how you can marry the different aspects.
Yes.
So now when you're telling me, okay, Harvard business and the psychologist and this, so you've sort of, intermingled all your different
Yeah.
journeys,
Yeah.
and now you found your niche and creativity.
And I strongly feel that no knowledge is lost.
Yeah.
So anything you learn at any given point in time, you will be very surprised how it gets applied in whatever you're doing career-wise. So yeah, like I give a lot of credit to my seniors at Harvard, because when I conduct these workshops, people say, how are you comfortable interacting with the audience, holding together 60 people, working with your hands at the same time? And I'm like, this is not something which I've learned right now. This is something I absorbed for many years, and now I'm just getting a chance to practice it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. And so tell me about some particular memory, like,
Yeah.
something which you designed in terms of your space
Sure.
styling, whether it was sets, whether it was tablescape, or anything you did for a brand, which has been your most memorable and the most creativity.
Sure. I think for me, Ekaya project, and I'll talk a little bit about that, has been most memorable. Reason being, I did set design for quite a bit, and then I was working with a lot of these luxury brands. And then came an opportunity of an event with Homegrown, and I worked with Palak Shah, who's the founder of Ekaya Banaras. And we married our strengths. So her strength is textiles and Banarasi, and my strength is like flowers and larger than life installations. So we actually created 7,000 fabric flowers out of the trimmings or the katran, which is wasted in the textile industry, right? Because you buy fabric by the meter, then there's some leftover fabric, right? So we work with those katrans, and the installation was called katran, and we aerially hung those 7,000 flowers for the Homegrown event.
I think I remember reading about it.
Yeah, it was also published, and it was very nice because when I do set design, and when I even do like tablescaping, when I work with brands like Good Earth or like West End, people do not have a chance to interact with my work. And when your installation is up, and there are 500 people at the event, they can come, see, touch, feel. I think it's just a very good feeling, and also you can also receive feedback, on how you can make it better the next time. So that is something which is really memorable for me.
Yeah, and when you mentioned about the brands,
Yeah.
the ones which you're working
Yeah.
for. So, anything else like you've done differently which you'd like to sort of throw some light on? Like
Sure.
how you said Katrang,
Yeah.
which was for Ekaya. So,
Yes.
anything else like
So
any of the campaigns which you've done?
Sure. I think the way I started out, especially in this space of space styling, was through set design for an ad, Airbnb ad. And that's where my journey of working with luxury brands started. So I worked with Gauri Khan Design. So we were shooting Shah Rukh Khan's Delhi home. And for the Airbnb ad, we had to style their house. Now imagine working with Gauri Khan, who's such great caliber and she knows what she's doing. But I was co-styling the shoot with her. So I got to learn like play with flowers, table, plants, furnishings, furniture, everything, whatever is encompassed in space styling. and that really was a very good segue for me to work with a series of luxury brands one after the other. And that also gave me a perspective. Okay, if we want to shoot luxury in India, what does it look like for us? Most of the time we have a view of what Western luxury looks like, but what does Indian luxury
Indeed.
look like? Interpreting that and then incorporating that into our work was very interesting.
And flowers have played a very important role
Yes.
in your space
Yes,
designing.
absolutely.
So do you include flowers everywhere, or you try and include?
I sometimes have to hold myself back of not including them because I think it comes so organically. And even before I wanted to like monetize, this whole knowledge of flowers and practice of flowers, I was very curious about flowers and botanicals. So there was never this intention of monetizing it in any way. And remember, I told you about the McQueen's Flower School London. So I went there just with the humble intention of learning. Okay, how do you work with flowers and how do you create installations out of flowers and how the mechanics work and all that, and use your hands to create that. Now the idea was not to come back to India and start selling flowers or just like monetize it in any way and build a business out of only flowers. But what I learned was the knowledge that I derived from flowers, it actually applied to the other things I started doing. So flowers teach you so much about color theory, textures, layers. All those learnings started to like seep down into my work of set design, interior styling, tablescapes. So
Wow.
like it is such a micro element in larger scheme of things. But if you just closely do it, very intentionally, it will seep back into your work. So that's why I absolutely love flowers, and sometimes I have to hold myself back in projects because I would like to go crazy with flowers. But yeah.
And what do you think about flowers being used in our weddings?
So yeah, so I think the only thing is, this is another reason why I did not want to get into flower business completely. I'm not a very big advocate of the floral foam that we use in the flower business. So I love working with fresh flowers. I recently did work with Baccarat, which is a 260-year-old luxury brand, and we designed the whole workshop on the color red. So we took the humble rose and we created an installation tablescape out of it. And my only request to the client was that I don't want to use floral foam. I want to use flowers, but I want to keep them fresh. And that's why my journey of exploring different material which can look like flowers also started. So Katran, the idea was how can we make textile look like a flower,
Yeah.
and lead to like lesser wastage, and make it look equally good. Or now we have paper and even like upcycled or recycled metal as material. So I think that exploration will go on. So yeah, I'm not very focused on the large scale usage of flowers in the
Yeah,
wedding
just for the
business.
heck of it, but
Yeah.
you wanted to have a
Yeah,
style and its own story, I
correct,
think.
absolutely. And use fresh flowers and like normal
Yeah.
water
Yeah,
which can last.
yeah, not like the traditional Indian big fat
Correct.
weddings. Sometimes I just feel like they
Yeah,
use too much of flowers and
yeah.
there's no aesthetic to it.
Correct, yes. And I think also the reason why I love flowers is because of their ephemeral nature. So I'm very okay with it. That I have bought a flower and it will only last like 2 to 7 days. Like I have no intention of making it last for a lifetime. Like that's really whatever the life of the flower is, it will be that much. So in my workshops also I tell people, please don't put like weird things into your flowers, like they put bleach and sugar and whatnot to make the flowers last. I'm like, just enjoy while it lasts.
Violet glass.
I think that's good enough for me.
Yeah. And so tell me, like, do you face any sort of challenge, or I should say, like when you're working with global luxury brands and then you have to cater to the Indian audience? So is it a challenge, or do you think it's a great shift which is happening? Because in my personal thing, I don't like to call anything a challenge. I just believe it's like an opportunity. So because you work with so many luxury global brands and there's an Indian audience, so how do you marry the two?
I think that's a great question. And I think a lot of times when clients are humble enough to ask me for feedback, I do share this. I feel India is an emerging luxury market, right? Like all the big brands, whether it's fashion, home decor, they want to come to India. They found a customer base which really wants to spend now, right? The only thing with that is the whitewashed approach of selling their products doesn't work anymore, right? So if a big brand from the US is coming here and they want to sell their product as is, it's unfortunate now, and it is in a good way. It's a very good thing that it is not gonna, fly. And they will have to situate or contextualize their brand to us. So what does that mean? That actually means that they will have to figure out what the Indian aesthetic looks like, right? The Indian aesthetic is not at all minimal by any means, right? It is something, again, which is very layered. It is a mix of old and new. Like if you look at our houses, there'll be something from your grandma. There will also be something from Pottery Barn coexisting very, very nicely.
Yeah.
So when they understand that Indian aesthetic, I think it just helps them sell better and also makes the product look really nice. So imagine such a niche brand like Baccarat with the amazing crystalware. They were very, very humble to explore a theme like Royal Affair with us, because India is a land of royals, right? And crystal is so luxurious. So why don't marry both? And it made the products look even
So
more
interesting,
luxurious.
yeah. Was this the one which you did at Chanakya?
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it
was
looked
like
beautiful.
a series of like 5 workshops.
Yeah. And so you work with ad films, interiors, luxury brands,
Yeah.
installations. If I look at the brands, which is Good Earth, Baccarat, Gauri Khan Design, Samsung, Google. So how do you balance your creativity with the commercial aspect?
I think that I would call still a challenge. Reason being, the kind of work I do, it is very easy for people to think this comes naturally to her.
Or
what
you
they
can
say.
just look at Pinterest or some of
Correct.
the other platforms
Yeah,
and do
and
it.
they'll just say that Lalima will come for a 60-minute workshop and she'll come dressed, she'll deliver the workshop. What's the big deal about this work? But I think that is also an opportunity for me to highlight the amount of work that goes into a workshop, right? So we start with uh, how can we make the invisible work visible? So we start with understanding the client, right? And then we present a concept to them, then a mood board, then we do sourcing for them, then we actually create a script for the workshop. We do rehearsal at their venue, actually conduct the workshop, take the feedback, loop that in. Now if I talk about it, I've already taken like a minute to explain to you, what all can be done. So there's a lot of pre and post work which is involved, and in any creative field, and not just like the field I am in, all creators struggle with how can we make the intangible or the invisible visible. And once you've done that, and I do it very meticulously with my manager, I think people see the kind of value we add. So that's very important, because just saying that I am creative and I have like an artistic bent of mind and you pay me X amount of money is not going to work. They would want to see, okay, what is the work that's going behind the scenes?
Yeah, nice. And tell me, what has been your biggest inspiration in your creative journey?
Uh, it will be very cliche, but it is nature and it is flowers, because and a lot of people say that we want to travel the world to be inspired. Sometimes I actually find my walks at Lodi Garden very inspiring. You just go out in the rainy season, you'll see some mushrooms sprouting at a bark of a tree. That's good inspiration. Sometimes I go to my terrace and I'll see a passion flower and I see how the purple is working with yellow and the blue is working with lime, and that's a great
So
lesson.
you just see, you just get
Yeah,
inspiration from things around you.
absolutely. And nature and flowers and botanicals for me are great inspiration for everything. And going back to my theater background, I think one of the key skills in design is how to train your eye. How do you observe? How do you train your eye in a way that you're watching or seeing something today, but it will come to your work later? How do you do that? So it is almost like you must have a bank ready of inspiration, because whenever an opportunity emerges, your bank should just be open and you should have like an array of ideas you can explore from. So I do that, and yeah, it's a very joyful process. So I love observing and I love absorbing all of that.
So I think my next question is very this thing, that how do you what sort of tips would you like to give the young designers and creative entrepreneurs who want to make their mark in your space,
Yeah.
or any sort of tips you can give them?
One is obviously, which I just said, how do you make the intangible tangible or invisible visible? And the other thing is, I get a dozen of DMs about, okay, we want to work with Figment, which is my brand, Figment by Lalima. I say start where you are. First of all, figure out the good thing is in today's times you don't have to do one thing. Like I'm doing multiple things. You can under the same umbrella do multiple things, but start where you are, and with whatever resources you have, and then kind of excel at it. Like do it so well that the brands approach you. Like my table styling journey, and I was just speaking to you before the interview. I started around 5 years back on my dining table, just doing table styling for my friends for Christmas. That was my starting point. And it was just for the joy of it. I used to just capture it because I also love capturing things. And I kept on doing this. And then I used to do it like some 12, 13 times in the year just for my own house. And after that, once I started posting about it, a lot of brands said, you know what, why don't you integrate our products
Into
into
yeah.
your table design? Why don't you come and style or conceptualize a shoot for us? So just whatever you want to do, practice, practice, practice. Do it so well that people are compelled to call you and say, okay, Lalima, do it for us. Or, whoever you are, they want to collaborate with you.
Well, I mean, that's a very useful tip. And I know you have a small baby, so how do you balance the two, professional and personal?
I think I'm thoroughly enjoying where I am as a mother. I feel like in today's time, because of the hustle culture, we are really, want to run back to work with the kind of work I have. I absolutely adore my work, but I absolutely also love being a mother. So it's very easy for me because my work is kind of integrated into my life. So I pick up projects which allow me to be creative, but also doesn't consume my bandwidth for the entire day. So I very carefully pick projects at this point. And then I'm teaching my daughter about flowers and books
Yeah.
and colors and everything, so that I really have like a
Yeah.
team member ready in no time. So
No. So as I mentioned to you, I have a 8-year-old,
Yeah.
and last year I took her to Cannes because we were
Yeah.
doing panel discussion. This year I took her, and children when they observe and learn, it's a really great learning,
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
And if you have a mother as a role model, there's nothing
Yeah.
sort of this thing. So she would go. So Cannes is known for like the biggest creativity festival.
Correct.
So for children, she'd love to go to Pinterest. So Pinterest would do block printing, or they would do things
How
which
lovely.
even children can do, or Canva.
Yeah.
So Canva would do something which is like a colored popsicle. So like an 8-year-old, like they'll enjoy it, yet they're imbibing the colors and different
Yes.
things.
Yes.
And she was just telling me that I'm doing Canva, and I said, I was trying to say maybe she's thinking of Cannes. She's saying no. In the technology class, they've started teaching us Canva. I said, but you're only 8, so.
How nice.
Yeah.
They're already ahead of us.
Yeah.
For sure.
And we've sort of reached the end of our session.
Sure.
But I would like you to share like a winning message for all those women out there, because as you
Right.
know, we are an inspirational storytelling
Yes.
platform which is on a global level.
Right.
So any message for women out there?
I think just be very authentically yourself. I think do not pretend to be anybody else. I think it really pays off. And a lot of times, because I'm on Instagram, my brand's name is Figment by Lalima. A lot of times I've been pushed by brands to get into the influencer space, and I very humbly declined because I think I don't have that skill set. So I am a person who wants to create with her hands. So I'm a practitioner, and I would like to stay that way. And slowly everything falls into place. So the sooner you realize where you are at and what you want to authentically do, it just pays off.
Yeah.
So
what I hear is being true to yourself
absolutely,
and
unapologetically
follow your heart.
Yes.
And we don't have to, I think for all our viewers out there, no one has to copy what someone else is doing, but find your own inspiration from within.
Yes.
So on that note, thank you so much for joining us. As you know, we are an inspirational storytelling platform, so you gave us a lot of inspiration to work on. But thank you so much.
It has been completely my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.